Hi, everyone. This is Michelle Grimolia, the president and CEO here at Woodland Pond. And this is my weekly update on a Tuesday. So I have a few things today that are announcement-y type things. So just a couple of things for your calendars. Tomorrow, Wednesday, at 10 a.m., all water on campus is going to be shut off for approximately 90 minutes. So beginning at 10 a.m. tomorrow, the water will be turned off to the main building. So basically everywhere except the cottages from 10 until approximately 11:30. And that is because we have to do some repairs that require the water to be shut off. Because a couple of shut-off valves and things need to be replaced. So the water will be shut off tomorrow for roughly 90 minutes, starting at 10 a.m. tomorrow, which is Wednesday. This week, just a notice that if you are accustomed to taking classes with Grace in the Performing Arts Center or in the pool, she is out this week. And we are going to be airing her classes that we have recorded on channel 1340. And as well, they will be airing in the PAC. So if you are interested in continuing to work with Grace, you will do so, but it will be a video version of Grace. Today at 2 o'clock in the PAC, the Land Conservation Committee has arranged for Lynn Bowdry, who is the one of the main trustees at the Walk Hill Valley Land Trust. She is going to be coming here to Woodland Pond at 2 today to discuss the relationship between Woodland Pond, the Walk Hill Valley Land Trust, and the Millbrook Preserve. So for those that are not aware, Woodland Pond has roughly 84 acres of property, and roughly 56 acres of our property is actually in a perpetual conservation easement, which means that it cannot be constructed upon or developed in any way, including roadways or cement paths or anything like that. Footpaths are okay. And we agreed to put actually the majority of the 56 acres of our land into this conservation easement when we were negotiating site plan approval for the original construction of Woodland Pond. So in order for that conservation easement to be considered to be in good standing, we have hired the Walk Hill Valley Land Trust to basically be the arbiter or auditor of our use of the land to make sure that we aren't violating any of the terms of the easement. So Lynn and her staff typically do an annual site visit where they walk all of the land that's in the easement. They provide reports to us of any concerns. But there's also a relationship now between Woodland Pond and our easement land and the Millbrook Preserve, which is a multi-organization sponsored preserve land here just adjacent to Woodland Pond's property. So Lynn is going to be discussing all things related to that again at the with the planning having been done by the Woodland Pond Land Conservation Committee. So you might want to come to that meeting today at 2 o'clock in the PAC and learn a little bit more about this topic. Let's see, your badges. So every resident has a badge that looks like this, except you don't have a picture. Yours just has your name on it. And I've been noticing that fewer and fewer residents are actually wearing them, but it's so helpful, very, very helpful to our staff and to your neighbors. If you wear your badge and wearing it up here on your lapel is really best, because this way when people aren't quite sure what your name is, maybe they forgot, they can just very discreetly kind of look down at your badge and remember your name. So it's a nice thing to do. It's good for our staff, but it's really good for your neighbors because people like to know who they're talking to. So if you can really try to make an effort to wear your badges, that would be fantastic. If for some reason you can't find your badge or need a new one, you can inquire at concierge. Let's see, a reminder from Rob Dunn that window washing, the annual window washing is going to be happening starting the 28th, and that will go through August 11th. That's the schedule as of right now. The window washers will clean the indoors and the outdoors. The cleaning of patio enclosures is outside of the scope of the work that Woodland Pond pays for, but if you're interested in having any glass or plexiglass patio enclosures washed, you can inquire with Rob Dunn, our Director of Environmental Services. I'm not sure if it's an option. I believe that he said that it is, but certainly you can inquire with them as to that question. Health center windows will be washed as well for those that asked. And so for all of the window washing, it's inside and outside panes of the windows. The last thing that I just wanted to talk about a little bit is reporting of COVID cases. It's going to be a short update this week. So we are sort of living with COVID now, right? So we expect, and I know all of you do too, that there are going to be COVID cases, just as there are common colds, just as there are flu, just as there are, any number of sort of ailments that are contagious and go around. We're not where we were 2 years ago. And many of you have communicated that it's a sort of triggering for you every time we announce a case. So back in April or May, I had announced that we have decided that, of course, in the health center, in the case of the health center, any positives are required to be reported to all of our stakeholders, which we consider to be our residents, our loved ones, our staff, visitors. We're required to report health center cases, and that is a New York State regulation. Fortunately, knock on wood, we really haven't had many. We haven't had any in a resident in the memorable past. It's been a very long time, knock on wood, in a resident in the health center, and we've had some periodic staff cases, but nothing, at a concerning level. So kind of keeping in mind that, we are trying to live with COVID and not always live under the cloud of COVID all the time. I had announced back in the spring that I was only going to report health center positives and outbreaks in independent living. I had included that, sort of with the caveat for outbreaks that we could sort of causally identify relations between the folks that tested positive, but certainly any kind of an outbreak we would report. So an outbreak is going to be something that is more than a couple of cases at a time, anything that's related to a potential event that we had, or we know that there's a connection to the folks that are testing positive. So, pretty much at any given time now, we have someone that is positive in independent living. But when we're talking about, 260 residents, if we have 1 or 2 positive cases and they're not related, that's not something that we would consider an outbreak. And those individuals are being instructed as to exactly what they need to do. Quarantine, monitor their symptoms. It would be prudent for you to contact people that you've been in touch with in the prior 5 to 7 days if you do test positive. But we're not going to, revert back to where we were, because just as we've never reported, cases of the, common cold or the flu, we won't be able to come out from the cloud of COVID if we continue to report every little, nit with it. All of these things are subject to change. And certainly, as I said, if we do have any kind of an outbreak in independent living, we certainly will report that. But I think the most important thing here is for you to be rest assured that the vast majority of our residents are vaccinated and boosted. Even when we had the most recent outbreak, which was in May of this year, and we thought maybe it was related to the Cinco de Mayo event or maybe something else, and we had as many as 30 cases at one point in independent living, including 2 hospitalized residents. We didn't have any residents that passed away, even those that were very compromised. We did not have more than 2 very serious cases of illness, and those were both in people that had pre-existing conditions. So it's very important to keep on top of your boosters if the CDC recommends additional boosters, to be monitoring your own signs and symptoms. If you choose to test, we have plenty of tests. You can do that. We've seen some cases affiliated with airplane travel or travel in close quarters with others. It's to be expected. This is a communicable illness, just like a cold. And fortunately, the symptomology has, changed to being more mild, certainly, and certainly in the face of vaccines and boosters. So I just wanted to address that because last week when I had put out an update about a health center case, at the time that I did it, I wasn't aware that we had an independent living case. And again, just also the other thing in independent living is that we only know what you tell us, right? In the health center, it's much more of a medical model. So we are going to be aware if you test positive because we're doing the testing. But in independent living, you may choose to test positive and not communicate that with us. And in that case, then I'm not aware of it. So it's not really the same animal in independent living and in the health center. So, if at any time, I'm reporting that we don't have any known cases or suspected cases, it's very possible that someone else has tested positive in independent living and we just aren't aware of it. So I just wanted to address that because that did come up as a question last week. If you have any other questions on that particular topic, you can definitely let me know. I don't have anything else for this week's update, so I think that we will say goodbye and I will see you next week. Thank you.